King of the Street
2020, part 2.
Nailed it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, cannot wait to tell you this story.
We are back. The boys are back. What an adventure.
All right, 2020 has been kind of a not so great race season. A lot of the events were canceled. Ultimate Call-Out Challenge, one of the big ones that Todd and I go to. Not a lot of the racetracks have been open, and so it's kind of been hit and miss, dyno events and stuff. Well, there's this event that Josh always talks about, King of the Streets. Problem is it's clear back in Ohio. We're talking 28-hour drive.
So we get everything packed up. We start doing the drive. It goes smooth. We get there. We got the cross bolts, you can see them, and then this is cross Eric makes me do this really cringy intro video with the pit vipes.
Dude, I say you nailed it.
But King of the Street 2020. Anyway,
the pit
so
vipes made it.
we get radios bolted on. We're going for our qualifying pass. Everything's good.
Well, after you teched in and realized you had a go-kart fire suit, so I had to go to Summit to get you a real man's
Luckily,
fire
Summit
suit.
was only, what, an hour away?
It was a little less than an hour, yeah.
You made good
I
time.
made good time. I was in the boss's truck, so he would have got the ticket on me.
Josh goes to do his first hit. I went down to the starting line. It was pretty tacky, felt really good. Track was a little bit cold because it was kind of cold weather. But I figured, truck should be able to cut, 1.5, maybe even 1.460 foots out there.
So we get all teched in. I go to make my first pass, and we're just doing a light launch because, again, we changed a little bit of the suspension. We found a track bar bolt that was missing, so I just wanted to make sure the truck was going to go straight before I turned it up and killed myself or anybody else. So I leave. The truck bucks really hard, and I'm like, this is weird. And then I get back in it, it bucks again, and then all of a sudden it starts white smoking, and I see fluid all over my windshield. So I shut it down.
Power driven diesel team coming out of Utah. Kicks and starts, getting it off the line.
we pull the valve cover and we see all the aluminum in the
Yeah, it was,
like there was a bunch of aluminum in the valve cover area. So put the valve cover back on and I go talk to the officials of the event, and there's a whole bunch of drama. Like everybody wants points, and so I turned in that one time slip I had as my qualifying pass. I went through the ladder.
8th mile or something like that.
Yeah, and it was
Nice
terrible.
Nice and good.
But first thing, I pulled off to the side once I realized what happened. The track didn't get oiled down, so follow the rules of the track and everything works out great. Then I talked to the official, Sarah, who was awesome, put on a great event. Like, I'm definitely gonna go back. And there's some drama, and eventually it turns out I cannot just break the beams. I have to go all the way down the track.
The decision was made, the truck still kind of runs. So Josh is like, if I don't show up to the eliminations, I will lose, I'll get last place. He's, if I show up with a hurt truck and limp it down the track, he's like, I will get some points. So he decided he was going to limp it down the track, go out in the first round, obviously, because he's definitely down a hole.
So I leave. David obviously beats me.
It was close though, right?
Yeah, it was really close. David was a
Slowest
Photo
race
finish.
ever.
solid friend right there. Did not embarrass me. So we make it down the track safely. They go down the track. We didn't leave any oil. Cool. We go to the pits, and I'm not gonna lie,
begins.
I was extremely depressed. But we had a good team. Will, Myer, Shad, and my buddy Zach. Myer and Will were huge proponents on let's pull it apart.
I'm gonna be honest. I think it was mostly Will. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you I was like, hey, dude, I'm willing to do whatever. To
Like
get
I
this
was
thing
ready
going,
to
but
pack
you
up.
decide. And then I went over to Chris and started helping him.
Yeah, I was ready to pack up. I was just done. I was like, we've killed ourselves. But luckily for me, I had a great team. And that's kind of the whole leading up to it, the event, and even after the event. Like the team you surround yourself with really determines how successful or how dedicated you are.
We decide to rip the head off. Guys pull the head off, and bam, number 2 piston's cracked. And it's not melted or anything. It's really odd.
We got the head off. We saw the cracked piston. We had cracked number 2 piston, which is really weird. Like,
Yeah,
not
we were
sure
expecting number 4 to be an issue because like.
that was the
That
one
was
that had
one-
the scoring.
Yeah. No, number 2 just decided to. Adios.
It literally cracked through the piston. So
Like
I looked,
down to the pin, like all the way down. Like you could see daylight, like a 1/4-inch hole all the way through the piston. So when we were saying that there was like oil all over it, that's because it was just blow bying like crazy.
And spraying oil literally everywhere. Like the whole truck was just like, it looked kind of cool. So like Josh did like a pull, and we actually like left all the oil on the truck because it looked pretty cool. But
Yeah,
I think next time we will, if we have that, we will take the rockers off so that the valves don't open, and we'll
and
disconnect
pull
that
the
injector.
injector. Yeah, that would have been smart.
That
But
would probably ran great.
anyway, we leave. We see the damage to the piston, and I'm like, all right, cool. I have a full set of pistons, rings, everything. I was like, I left it at the hotel. So I take off to go to the hotel, and these 3 guys, including Zach, pulled the oil pan off. You guys took the rod out, and it was 3-stone honed, Harbor Freight style. I believe
yeah.
Myer did it, and it was actually a really nice finish.
I did a
job.
quick job, yeah, but I
Yeah.
think you finished it up.
And then I threw the piston on the rod, put the rod back in, bolted it on. They worked on the oil pan. We put the head on, got first fire, and it ran actually really well.
maybe hope that they would somehow kick back and help us.
Myer?
Yes.
Hey, do they have water here?
They let me go, the lady.
I got these.
Never mind.
Right here. Sit down. Hold the horn.
Let me just get the best ones with this.
Just one of the heads cracked or something where we're like, oh shit, we got in the head. What about the blink, right?
I wouldn't want somebody taking my plywood.
Swing, bada, bada. Okay, whoa, let's go up.
I see cracks on number 2.
Getting tired of full sends.
Oh, it's in my eyes.
Over there.
Oh, watch the grill. We're good.
Tell me when to stop.
Keep going. All right, down. About 2 inches. More.
Good enough for them.
So it was sweet, and then we banged out a hot retorque.
That night, finished up. Had a leak or two we were trying to fix up, but like it was solid when we went to bed at like whatever.
Yeah,
4 a.m.
coolant back in it, because at this point we could run coolant again, because it was like 30 degrees the whole weekend. And these guys, everyone froze. Like it was so cold.
It was pretty cold.
We did have Friar Tuck, Will Terry on the barbecue.
Dude, the man can barbecue a burger. Let me
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah, he came in clutch with like those morale boosting.
He's like, yeah. Whenever we got down, he's like, hey, who wants burgers? I was like,
Basically, I was the dedicated chef on this event. Is go out, help the guys a little bit if they had any tranny issues, and then beyond that was I was basically gonna cook hamburgers.
down.
To be fair, Will was there only if we needed transmission help, or I guess a motivational speech to really get our butts in gear.
That he
So Will
provided.
spent a lot of time getting some info from other things about our engine program and stuff like that. So it was really good, but Will came through clutch with the motivational speech to get us to rebuild it and the
Burgers, dude.
burgers. And then, of course, we had to do a mandatory pit burnout at 3 o'clock in the morning to let everybody know that the 6-point grate was, in fact, back. And then, whatever, I guess they can't find me now, but I did take it down the strip. And at the tech meeting the next day, some guy was like, yeah, some jackhole was driving down the track at 4 a.m. at full throttle. And I was like, I just kind of smiled.
Who knows?
That next morning, the dyno had some problems. It was dyno day, and they decided to call for the street drive. So Josh and Myer went on the street drive, and I was just hanging out at the pits, just barbecuing more food. I mean, what else am I going to do, you know? And I get a call, and Josh is like, we broke. And I'm like, oh, great.
We were doing the street drive. We got the Bluetooth hooked up. We got the winders down. I mean, the first 40 miles,
the whole way, dude. It was a party.
it was great.
In
And
the
then
USA.
I started to smell fuel, and Myers like, yeah, I kind of smell it. And I'm like, you know what?
And then it went away. And it was weird. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that must
There
be
was like
somebody else. Bad luck for them.
There's like 4 trucks ahead of us. I'm like, whatever. And then
It came back.
I start seeing this like white smoke coming from under my truck, and I'm looking, oil pressure's good, trans pressure's good, like everything looks fine. I'm like, okay, whatever. And all of a sudden I start to notice the FCA duty cycle coming up, and then I really start to smell fuel. And I look at our miles per gallon on the overhead, and the fuel gauge is going down a little quicker than it was. And I was like, you know what? I know my tank, that 5.8 or that 3/4 to 5/8 is real quick. Like, oh well, we'll chalk it up. So we get through this town, and it's mile marker like 54, and like all of a sudden I see fuel on the floor mat. My boot is soaked, and I'm like, crap, like.
And we were sitting at a stop sign at this point, and then
Yeah.
Tyler behind us was like, dude, what's going on? Like,
Yeah,
you
like I
are
have
pitch
people
black.
calling my phone right now, like, what is going on? And I'm like, I'm not stopping. Like, it's
moment-
1,000 points for the street drive. It's you either finish the street drive or you forfeit all the points. And I'm like, in
Stopping,
my mind,
pulling over, anything. Is
yeah, in my
DQ.
mind, I'm like, I think we can make it. I asked Myer, we got the fire extinguisher out of the back with the pin pulled, like we were ready to put out a fire. And then all of a sudden I look down and I see my lift pump pressure is at 8 PSI. We have two 200-gallon-per-hour air dogs feeding a 14 and a 12 mil stroker pump, and these things are at almost full duty cycle, maintaining 6,000 rail pressure. And finally, Tyler's like, dude, you are leaking fuel everywhere. He's like, if you don't stop, I'm going to pull your kill switch. And I knew if he pulled it, like, we couldn't get it started again. So all of a sudden, the truck just starts showering white smoke underneath it. And there's, like, people walking on both sides. We're, like, in Amish Town, USA. And I couldn't get the grill open, or the hood open, because the grill latch broke. So I punched the grill, broke the grill, got it open. And number 4 injection line is literally just
Dumping.
like Niagara Fallsing fuel all over the place. So we shut it down, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, we're in the middle of town.
So Tyler yells from behind. He's like, hey, do you care about your bumper? And he's like, no. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And he just rams into it with his sport bumper on his second gen.
Yeah.
Without the tow hook option. But, I mean, still, like, geez, what a guy. Just rammed it. And we were pushing us up a hill, and you just hear it grinding around corners and stuff. And he got us up over the hill, and then we were able to go coast into a parking lot, and then that was pretty much it for that. Because the moment you stop. Like,
and then I got a call. Hey, will you guys bring us number 4 injection line?
He said, we broke a fuel line. He said, we're 46 miles into the 100-mile drive. I pull up Google Maps, and it's like a full-on hour drive from where we're at. They broke down like the furthest possible way distance from the track. So I hop in Josh's truck.
Yeah. So Will brought out the tools and all the lines.
we were like an hour out, too. Like,
Yeah.
we were at the far end of the loop, and then they were going to start coming back. So, like...
And again, like, I'm just so disappointed. Like, all the problems we had, like, the cool part, at least for me, was there was nobody to get mad at. Like, a piston cracked. Like, those were cast pistons. They were probably spent anyway. Like, okay, the fuel injection line broke, and I was just like, I personally was devastated. I was like, you know what? Like, this is just not our weekend. And within 15 minutes, Myer and I somehow got to laughing. Will brings us the line, and I'm like, you know what? We set out to do a 100-mile street drive. We are going to finish this 100-mile street drive. So I GPS us, and we ended up at 101 miles, and we took
Yeah, we took a little longer route back, just so we'd be over 100 miles, so at least we finished our own books. And then another thing to mention is that the dyno had started, and they were like, okay, well, we need to get back for the dyno. So
let's just
say we tore up the back streets on the way back.
Back roads of Ohio.
There were 2 Priuses or something in the right lane,
and they
had
got
no idea what happened.
That was like
That was the funnest part of the whole trip.
Yeah, we just had a blast getting back. And we got back. I brought my truck up to Sarah, and I was like, I don't care what anybody says. I was like, we finished. I was like, I know it doesn't count, but there's 101 miles on this odometer. And she was like, all right, cool. Like, you can finish the event. And I was like, all right, sweet. So we get ready for the dyno. And I waited till the end, mostly because we wanted the truck to cool off. And we had a fuel leak again that we were trying to fix. We got that fixed, and I lined up behind David. And David goes up and smacks like 2,200 horsepower.
Full
and
cylinder.
I talked to David, and he's like, dude, I didn't think it would do that. And Will overheard it. And there seems to be some discrepancies on the storyline here, but the 3 of us are in agreement. Will was like, hey, you should shoot for 2K. And I was like, are you sure? And Will's like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, okay, we're going to go for 2K.
Josh is like, dude, I have 0 chance of winning the event, which is what it is. He got a low placing in the drag race, but he did complete, so he actually got points. 0 points for the straight drive. So that evening they decided to do the dyno after the straight drive, and Josh and the guys and I, we kind of strategized a little bit. We're like, do you want to try to hit 2K, or do you want to go conservative, maybe a fuel only hit, and depending on what the numbers are, maybe spray it for a second run if you decide to spray it, and then save the truck for the dirt drags and the sled pull, or do you just want to try to hit 2K? And Josh is like, I don't have a chance of winning, but one of my personal goals is to hit 2,000. He's like, I'm going to try to hit 2,000. So he put a little bit bigger jets in the nitrous. I don't know the exact sizes, but I'd say probably 30% more nitrous than we had ran back home when we did about 1,800 on our chassis dyno. And we thought that'd be enough to get him there. Still, not crazy. 2 kits on a progressive, maybe 100 jet and an 88 jet or something like that. Nothing crazy. And they're all set. Bunch of big numbers before, and a couple guys up there, 1,900 horse, and Josh goes up there, comes up, and mid-pole, the truck the smoke turned gray. It didn't sound good.
So I flip open the laptop, and we changed nitrous jets from an 88-78 to a 110-99. So a generous, probably 150 more horsepower with the nitrous, and I turn up the progressive, and I turn all the kits on, all the bottles on, all the water on, and I start doing it. I get up to speed. He brings in the load, and this was a loaded dyno, but the load was it was light. It was a very light load compared to our dyno. So I let it start bringing me down, and I go to spool jet it through that load drop, and in whatever, I screwed up. Instead of grabbing the spool jet on the shifter, I grabbed the scramble button on the steering column, which was a 110 jet as well, and it coughed real bad. And I was like, okay, as soon as what happened, I was like, oh, wrong button. Let off that button, let the truck kind of run for a second to get the nitrous out, and I just go straight into my run flat-footed. I started flat-footing right around 40 pounds boost, and it's pulling through. You can feel the first kit of nitrous come on, and it starts flying through the window, and then all of a sudden I see the cough, white smoke, and then it's just flame in my windshield. And I'm sitting in there. I have flame coming through the holes in the firewall, and I was legitimately, that was probably the worst blow up I'd ever been through as far as how much danger I thought I was in.
Backfire and your catch can just blew oil everywhere. Yeah, you got oil. I mean, there. Oil line. Oil line? What's that rock on? I think this one you can put in on site. This one.
But we had fire extinguishers because everybody loves to comment on how stupid we are. So just to clarify the record for everyone here, fire extinguishers on the ready. They back the crowd up quite a bit. The dyno operator owns the dyno. He can do whatever he wants. I don't care. I was in the truck, all the doors shut, fire suit, and I had my boots on. So we were as safe as we could possibly be.
And we had a cable over the engine.
Yeah, cable over the engine, cross bolts in the exhaust. Like every safety feature we could have, and it just explodes. And everybody starts hooping and hollering or whatever, and I try to start it, and it just, and I was like, okay. So we roll it off.
It was about, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and they're like, I wonder if just one piston is down. They're like, we got more pistons to swap in.
And at this point, I mean, there's nothing left to do but smile. We ended up doing like 1,400 and something horsepower. It was good enough for like 4th place, I think, on the dyno. And then we pulled the head off. How did you guys even talk me into that?
Well, you guys are gonna go back to the hotel, and I was like, okay, see you there. I was M6, and I'll just take off this valve cover really quick.
And then Myer and I
And
were thinking,
we see piston, and we're like, hey, y'all want to see us do this again?
let's do it again.
So we pull the head off. Like this guy pulls off turbos, I pull the head off.
All right, let me give you guys a quick update. It is night 2 or 3, I can't even remember now, of King of the Streets. Last night, the guys pulled the head, in-framed, changed out number 2 piston because Josh cracked number 2 piston at the drag strip on the very first run. They got it together, did a couple celebratory burnouts last night at 3 a.m., got it together, made it halfway through the 100-mile street drive, and an injection line cracked. Took him out. So I ran an injection line to Josh. He completed the street drive, but did not get points for that part of the event because he had to fix his truck. Brought it back. He decided full send on the dyno. He's going to try to hit 2K. And, well, you saw earlier in the video, kaboom. Every competitor thinks we're out. It's midnight, and one of these guys, after eating dinner, is like, hey, let's pull the valve cover and see what's going on. They pull the valve cover to find out number 1 piston now just blew up. So what are they doing? They're going for round 2 of an engine build in one event. Check out the action.
You can hear something literally flopping around in there.
Yeah, like that piston must have broke and hit the valves or something.
Does it smell like Interstate McBee or does it smell like ceramic matrix?
It smells like my hopes and dreams going down the toilet. Hey, Chad, what's your trick to getting this one?
We got
That number, that yellow injector line's hooked there, Myer.
probably number.
There was a lot of oil.
Eric.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it? Oh, I didn't see
We're going single no matter what now.
Bye.
Hey, that motor will last the whole year.
I took it out already. You break a lot. You break a lot.
Somehow that helps.
Who's got a bunch of stuff in intake? No, it's done. Keep going up, Myer. It's done.
Oh, number 6. Oh, look at number 6.
Oh, she's not running tomorrow, boys.
Wait,
oh my
Myer up.
Wow.
Hey, we got the tow truck motor. Let's go. Oh, it's gone.
It disintegrated. Or?
Oh, dude, look at this, Will.
Split straight down the middle.
Oh,
you got it, dude. Oh, got her. Oh, block's destroyed. Look at the pin wiped out the block.
big steel pistons are
Not rated for that kind of power.
Oh, f***ing mint, bro.
Split right down the middle and it's still there.
And we just see chunks of pistons, like just what looks like they were pistons at one point, and then there was a hole in the block. That's what really slowed us down. Like, there's no way 3 stone honing your way out of that one.
So, number 1 piston came apart in pieces.
And you
The
could like
bottom of
literally
the
pull it
skirt
off.
Fell off, and I was able to pull the top parts of the pistons out of the cylinder. That is why the hole went in the block.
Split straight down the middle.
Oh,
you got it, dude. Oh, got her. Oh, block's destroyed. Look at the pin wiped out the block.
No matter what anybody says, I was proud of the effort. We didn't quit. We didn't throw in the towel. I mean, people were so mad. Like, there was a couple competitors that were immensely angry that we were able to rebuild it in frame. Because the new rule this year, due to events last year, was you couldn't pull the motor or you lost 500 points. So we jacked up the motor in the frame, and I had to take pictures of us rebuilding it without even taking the front bumper off.
Like
and-
radiator, everything stayed all in place.
And the argument is basically that Duramax and Power Stroke owners can't rebuild in frame. And I was like, well, 6 in a row, ready to go.
And that was into Saturday. Sunday morning, we got up kind of late because we didn't have to be there in time. Started raining. We didn't have to deal with the rain or any of that. We just kind of sat under our little easy up, and event went great there. We watched a little bit of sled pulling, helped a couple teams with some parts and pieces, and no big deal.
It was just awesome to see trucks sled pull, and we got to enjoy the event. So we stayed through the whole awards ceremony. We got loaded up, went back to the hotel, got a good night's sleep, and then we headed to D&J in the morning. Well, actually, it was kind of the afternoon. We got to meet Drew and his team.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was
he gave
really
us a
cool.
whole tour around. Like, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and Drew and I went over some things with the motor. We're kind of hemming and hawing on. So I'll post some updates for that on my own social media. And just getting to see his crew, and like Precision Machine really is a
Lives up
very
to the name.
good description for that business. Like they do things really well. We got to see how his pistons show up.
Yeah, all the
blanks.
stages of like the rods. the
Yeah,
pistons.
and
Like, it
then
was
his
really sweet
rods.
to kind of see what like all the interstage like
The
where
deck plate design and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it was for me like the first time I had been in a like scenario like that, because even at Power Driven, a lot like No Limit did our bottom end. Like getting to see the shop where they do it all was kind of insane. And then we went to lunch with Drew. Just got to talking about engines and the industry and stuff like that.
Just had a good time with him.
Yeah, and we left. We hit the road, and everything, all things considered, we were in good spirits. We just, at this point, like I wanted to get home to my family. Myer wanted to get home to Farm Simulator. And Shad, what did you want to get home to?
his wife,
my wife.
honestly.
Yeah, okay.
Farming
I always
Simulator,
forget
dude.
you're
You guys don't
married.
realize how long. Like, you go a week without Farming Simulator. Like, I don't know how you live.
It's rough.
You gotta fertilize.
And we started to head out of there on Monday morning. We stopped by D&J Precision Machine, said hi to Drew and the boys there, and got to see their operation. Pretty cool operation. And we had lunch, and then we hit the road to head back home.
We're driving home, just having a good time.
Yeah.
Tuesday's going good. And to be fair, these guys both let me sleep all night. So I was ready for the Denver to Salina grades. You have Eisenhower Pass, Vail Pass, and then you have the Salina grade, which for those of you that don't live in Utah, have no idea what it is. It's, I would say, actually probably worse than
I think
Eisenhower
it is
or
because if
Vail.
nothing else, it's hotter, and so
It's-
it just burns down your
And
stuff.
that crazy switchback like gets you every time. Like there's literally guardrails with scratches on them because people just
Send it a little too hard.
ride it. So we're going, and everything's going good. And we made it up over in Eisenhower. Shout out to the tow rig. And I mean, we have flogged on this thing forever. Stock limiter. We start going down the grade.
Of all things down.
I don't have an engine brake. I was going to put one on, ran out of time, didn't think we needed it. We were pretty heavy, 25,990 pounds probably if I had to guess.
Right there.
We're going down the hill, and all of a sudden I hear this ting, 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 and
Bottom end.
It sounds too high up in the motor.
I'm
Just
like,
coasting down the hill.
that's interesting. So I slam on my brakes, get it pulled off to the side, and we're going through our diagnosis and can't figure it out. We're in a really bad spot. Like somebody could hit us, ultimately kill us if we're not careful.
Huge grade. Like, it'd be really risky trying to like swap trucks there for
Yeah,
towed. So we're like, okay, there's a town, like 2
Frisco,
miles.
Colorado, dude. Frisco, Colorado.
All you gotta do is just basically coast down to that town.
My wife is gonna be very angry. Oh, dude, she's gonna be so pissed. I can already see it now. You did what? With who?
I think the saving factor here will be that you did it coasting down the grade and not like powering up.
I'm gonna need a lot of backup on that one because I don't think she's gonna buy it. To say I had had enough of 2020 kicking me in the family jewels would be an understatement. Eric decides to text Myer.
Oh, he's like, oh,
Hey,
make sure to get
capture the moment. And I was like,
like,
I'm
dude,
gonna capture you by the neck.
Dude, I told him, I was like, I'll capture the moment, but when you see Josh, he's out for blood.
I think within 10 minutes I had calmed down.
Dude, it was crazy because we were like, I don't know if the footage will show it, but we were cracking jokes within like 10 minutes of it breaking down. Like,
Because
it
I'm
was
just
crazy.
like, of all the things I've done to it, the burnouts, the towing, everything, it
The
goes
coasting
out.
is
Coasting
what took it
downhill.
out. Jeez.
So we go to the gas station, we grab some food, whatever, we come back, and we call Will. Will is 10 hours behind because he decided to stop in Kansas because Eric can't drive overnight.
I got tired, so I decided to get a hotel.
Well, well, well. How the turntables.
So you're saying you didn't go to a hotel?
So anyway, Eric goes to the hotel.
I think Eric convinced Will to go to
Yeah,
the hotel.
I think it was definitely Eric.
So Will calls Todd.
Eric was
Todd
like, "No more."
needs to come get me. So we now have a broken truck on a gooseneck trailer with a broken truck with a gooseneck hitch.
So I get a call from Josh, and he's like, I hurt the engine in the tow rig. And I'm like, what? And he says, yeah, it's knocking really bad. And he's like, I'm on a bad spot. I need to try to limp it down the hill.
And then I start looking, I'm like, I see the crack in the block. And I'm like, you know what? We're in a different place than normal. Let's see what Facebook Marketplace has to offer because now I need a 6.7 block and a crank because I knew the crank was junk too. And I make a post on Facebook and Instagram. Had a guy hit me up. He's like, hey, I live just outside of Denver. I have a 6.7 block. It'll clean up 20 over. And I'm like, cool. I was like, how much you want for it? He's like, I don't know, give me a price. And I was like, $1,600 if you deliver it to me on the side of the freeway. And he was like, done. I'll be there in a couple hours. So we broke down, coming down Eisenhower Pass, and I was like, all right, I got to find a block now because we had a window through it. So I put out a post. Kyle and his buddy here were like, hey, we're in Denver. I was like, hey, will you deliver it? I feel like I gave you a good price. So we got ourselves a 6.7 block, 6.7 crank, delivered to the side of the damn road, exit 203, Frisco, Colorado. These guys are legends. They show up with a long bed mega cab that he did himself, by the way, which actually
Clean
looked
truck.
really
It
good.
was
Yeah,
a really
looked
clean
good.
truck.
Check this out.
Will calls, he's like, hey, what do you guys want to do for dinner? I'd love to take you guys to a restaurant. And I was like, Will, the only way we're going to get down with this is a gypsy barbecue on the side of the road.
Half of the rescue party. Dude, look at the strap.
I know. But don't get yours mixed up with mine. Okay.
Mine's the front one. Rescue parties here.
Victory. Hey, we got you say there ain't no party like a Paris party?
2020 just really taught me that the team you surround yourself really determines how dedicated you are. I really, not even being corny, couldn't really do it without a lot of help. And I just wish we would have had a little bit more success. But then I keep thinking about all the dyno competitions we went to that we did really well at. And
Yeah.
you win some, you lose some, and we're gonna go back to the drawing board with the engine and try to get some forged pistons in it, and it'll either be sleeved or deck plated.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I'm not giving up on this 2K. Sorry, Kyla. Wife was not happy about that blow up because Myer, of course, was live streaming it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You're welcome.
well, what a year.
It was a good year. A lot of learning.